Let's go on to volatility. Let's just get the big three out of the way. There's some pretty interesting things going on with XIV, I think. So first thing to note is you can notice that we're up from, as this guy posts, best in the market. All right, so from 2016, we were at a low of $20, and we're up 400% this year. If that gives you any forewarning, kind of like Soxel and Tekel, but XIV is to the extreme. Anyways, I'm noting some interesting patterns here, I guess. I'm noticing some divergences and a pretty much symmetrical pattern taking place again. So here on our stochastic, we've got a high and then a lower high over here, while price makes a low and then a higher low. And then we have one more leg up and we drop. So what you're supposed to do is wait for the next high and sell. And I guess that worked out pretty well. And I guess we're going to put it to the test because I'm seeing somewhat the same thing over here play out. We've got a high stochastic followed by lower lows. And then we've got a low price followed by higher lows. And then we have this big spike up. The spike up is higher than this last high of the stochastic, and this high in the stochastic on the other side is higher than this one over here. So it's essentially the exact same pattern playing out over here. I've marked some Fibonacci levels here that we're hitting 127.2. This is 78.6, and we've marked some support levels, and then some 61.8% fib and 38.2. I do not think that we're going to reach the 38.2 or 61.8, but I might gamble a little bit and buy some at 75 and continue buying down here at 73, 72, just because the XIV is programmed to basically rise. It's not like a stock or a sector where if the sector's doing well, it will go up. XIV will always do well. For example, let's go to XIV's inverse. This is basically always doing bad. This is UVXY. Sometimes you can make a lot of money in it. I've tried swinging it before with, I don't want to say no luck, but not a lot of luck. It's very hard to predict when price is going to spike as opposed to when it's going to potentially fall. Let's go back to XIV. And another thing that's of interest is this exact same pattern that we've got going on here. I mean, what's going on? We've got a huge run up, a high, 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 and then the last high. 4 highs and then a massive dump. Same thing happening here. We've got a high, 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 4 highs, a divergence on the stochastic. I drew these blue arrows. Volume sells way down. Volume gets very low, and then it curls up huge. So let's see if I have anything further drawn on the 30-minute. Looks like I do not. Let's just talk about my middle indicator here real briefly. So we can see here that there's kind of a shift in momentum. Up here we see that the bulls came in force. They got the CCI to about 400, and about 250, 275 is about the max I ever see. And the CCI is not to register oversold, overbought zones. It's used to register momentum, aka if there's more sellers in the market than buyers, that's kind of indicative of a trend change or whatnot. You can obviously see here that even though we did get down here to 260 at one point, the bulls came back in full force and pushed it up to 400. However, we came down here and the bears got their CCI down to about 350. And the bulls haven't exactly recovered. Our highest thus far is 160s, and you can see over here that we were immediately rebought when it dropped so hard. We immediately came back with a force, which is kind of another reason why I think that this might be a double top, and we might go lower. Let's go to the 15-minute. I'm seeing some serious divergences here. Here on a smaller time frame, we can look at them in a different point of view. Before I was talking about my stochastic divergences, but RSI is usually a lot easier to see. So over here we have our highest RSI, and we come down and we have our second highest RSI. But if you look at price basically ignores it for a time, and you'll see that a lot. Divergences are just that. They're divergences in the technicals versus the price action. and they can only, diverge for so long before one of them has to give. And that's why I would never fully take a trade on a divergence, especially at the 15-minute level. But I did find one at the hour level, which is pretty significant, and it spanned for about a week. And eventually, we see here that price sold off. It finally gave way to the divergence. And we have, in my eyes, the exact same pattern setting forth right here. And we have our high RSI followed by much lower RSIs and higher prices again. What's more is I found another one in my stochastic. This is a high marked by a lower high. This is a high marked by a higher high. So 2 divergences in price and technicals here on the 15-minute. That just kind of builds onto my short-term bearish case on it. I have nothing for the 5-minute. Do I have anything for the 1-minute? I don't believe so. So going back to the 1 hour, I think that there is a case to be made that price might fall in the near future. I think that it's very plausible to assume that we will, continue on up to the 8250s and hit a double top here. Again, this is where price ended over here. That's when the divergence had enough. Volume got down low enough. There were no more buyers here and only sellers. And the same thing is kind of playing out over here. We see buyers, just drying up, and we finally see some sellers coming in. XIV had its first red day in a while. Anyways, short-term bearish, I think that, we will go down. I don't know how significant the move will be. I can easily see us going up another buck or two, but I do think, short-term we will fall to, probably the 75.50 range. This is the next major support for it. We didn't build up a lot of consolidation along the way up. You see that again here. I mean, it's a perfect replica of the price action from 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, where we build, not a lot of consolidation. We kind of have a wedge going on here, and we just dump, and same exact thing is going on over here. So short-term bearish, long-term bullish. Last thing, if you want to talk about time again, if you trust the time indicator, which I do to a degree, I think that any information you can have is worth having. That's why I do Elliott wave. That's why I do divergences. That's why I do volume. That's why I do patterns. That's why I do a Fibonacci. That's why I do time. Now, you can predict the price correctly, but if you don't have the time, I think time and predictions are the 2 most important things, and there's not a lot of indicators out there for time, and so I'm always going to use time. When I first started trading, I would usually get the bottom. I've always been kind of a dip buyer. I haven't been so much a momentum buyer because I think you fall into these traps or whatever. I'm not going to get into it. But I like to buy at lows and try to sell at highs. But, instead of on the hourly chart, this would be a daily chart, and I would see price come down here. And, I'd buy it up here, whatever. I'd be down 5% for, a month or whatever. And that whole time I'd be looking at other stocks, and I'd find something I liked, and it would finally get back to breaking even. And I'd be like, finally, I can sell and get out of this garbage stock that I've been in, wasting my money and time for the last month. And I would buy into another stock in the same exact deal. I would basically just sit in this trough area for a month or two until I broke even again. And right when I sold out, it would always make these just colossal moves. So I think that having some indication of time on your side is worthwhile. But sorry for that long exposition. But basically, okay, so we've got our low here, our high here, and this next time fib is coming up right here. And this would kind of coincide with what we might see with price action grinding up higher until we reach this double top and this time fib, and I can easily see us going lower from there. All right, that's my analysis on inverse volatility, XIV. Now that we've got the hard ones, the ones I'm bearish on, let's go to some more fun ones. Let's go to gold.